My love for Star Wars hasn't died. That will never die, but my interest in future projects, minus Andor, that show rules, has definitely been dialed back significantly. It's a combination of being too busy with family life and work to pay much attention to things or the channel, mixed with so many Star Wars projects over the past decade just not being what I am interested in. Just a bunch of shows and movies that haven't done anything for me. A lot of stuff I haven't liked, which is fine. Not everything is going to appeal to me. I get that. I accept that. That's kind of how Star Wars has always been for me, even well before Disney acquired the franchise. It's not a Disney thing. They've made some stuff that I've really liked. They've made some stuff that I flat out don't like. And they've made a whole bunch of stuff that's in the middle. Forgettable, unremarkable, run-of-the-mill, and not for me. And if I don't like something, I typically don't care to talk about it. So these days, I have a peripheral curiosity. You know, back in the day when I started this channel in 2011, I used to have my finger on the pulse of Star Wars and the fandom. I'm very nostalgic for that time period, leading into The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, getting super excited for future projects, riding this big wave of anticipation. It felt alive. The buildup was electric. And I think what I've come to realize is that where a lot of the excitement comes from, for me at least, is in that rarity, where Star Wars is like an event on the horizon. And I don't think it'll ever feel like that again, unless a big break is taken, which I don't see happening. But when something becomes, bloated, or there's an overabundance of something, it lessens the level of excitement for me. I recognize that I'm probably in the minority when it comes to this opinion. You know, there's a demand for all of these shows, I suppose. And it's kind of how the modern media landscape is, you know, where so many franchises pump out stuff nonstop. There's always something new, like, coming out super soon, you know, for so many of these franchises. But yeah, like, it's to me, it's more fun when something is a little more rare. You get a nice treat from time to time. Maybe I'm just a relic, an almost 40-year-old dude who can't keep up with everything because of time, or doesn't have a desire to keep up with everything. It's, it's just life. I'm more interested in what my daughter is interested in. Like, she's super into My Little Pony and gymnastics and Taylor Swift music and Descendants movies and drawing mermaids. And by virtue of being a dad, I'm into all those things now too. And my attention is placed on those things rather than this YouTube channel. We also have a new 4-month-old puppy. Her name is Zoe. She's great. She's a handful. It's like having a toddler around. That occupies a lot of time. I work a lot, you know. My job is 24 on and 48 off, so I work 24-hour shifts where I don't see my family. So when I'm home, I'm not thinking about YouTube. I just want to play and hang out, you know, pay attention to the kids' interests. That's the biggest factor as to why I'm not active on here much anymore. And I wouldn't change it for the world. Well, like, am I supposed to be like, sorry, kiddo, Dad's going to be busy for the next 6 hours making a video about a TV show he didn't like? I'm not that guy. I'm not doing that shit. Sometimes I'll check my YouTube comments or whatever. It's rare, but, you know, I'll hop in from time to time and I'll see someone say like dead channel or something to that effect. And I just kind of sit back and I'm like, I don't think they understand what this channel is and always has been to me. You know, a little creative outlet that I from time to time visit. Don't take it all that serious. I don't know if it's just because maybe this channel and my attitude towards YouTube in general is different than other YouTube channels, and those commenters aren't used to that. They just kind of see that I've uploaded like 8 videos in a year. The level of activity on this channel has ebbed and flowed over the past almost 14 years of its existence, and I'm sure the next 14 years will be no different. I'm sure there will be months where I'm super active and months where I'm not, just like it's kind of always been. I feel like a relic of a bygone era of what YouTube used to be. I saw this comment on one of my videos the other day when I was checking my dashboard for the first time in like a month. And it was interesting to me. And this guy kind of nailed it in a way. Now, I don't know if he was trying to be an asshole or not. I don't think he was. I certainly did not take it that way. I just found it to be an interesting assessment of my little corner of the internet, my little channel here. It's not entirely accurate, and I disagree with certain aspects of it, but it's an interesting assessment. He said, quote, HelloGreedo isn't a shill so much as he's a guy who rose to popularity with a sequence of videos criticizing the special edition changes, especially the Greedo shooting first change, making everyone believe he was super passionate about Star Wars. But then it just turned out that he doesn't care that much about Star Wars. He likes it, but he's given up caring about it as a brand. And now he just watches it out of curiosity, judging it on a very low bar, enjoying parts of it for what it is, not caring that it ever be great again, because he was never really that passionate about it to begin with. It's hard to process for hardcore fans because he's a guy who wears a stormtrooper helmet on his head in all of his videos, while sharing tepid opinions and acting pretty aloof. Close quote. I am super passionate about Star Wars, just in a way more laid back and casual way than most in this space, I suppose. But I thought, this was a pretty interesting assessment of the channel and me, I guess. Again, I disagree with the part about me not caring that much about Star Wars. I do. But I see where he's coming from. I deeply care about Star Wars, but if something doesn't interest me, I'm not going to be interested in it. I didn't finish the third season of The Mandalorian. I didn't finish The Acolyte. Most of modern Star Wars has not appealed to me in the slightest. And instead of, talking about stuff that I dislike ad nauseum, I just choose to move on and say, well, we'll see what's next. In the grand scheme of modern Star Wars, I've only enjoyed Andor, the first season of The Mandalorian, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi. Everything else, for the most part, is not for me. I judge it maybe too much. And when it comes to making videos and stuff, if I'm not a fan of something, I just don't really have a desire to run my negative opinions into the ground. I mean, I know I've always been known as like the prequel bashing dude, but in reality, over the past 14 years of this channel's existence, I've maybe made 10 videos about the prequels. In 14 years, 10 videos. Even the Star Wars, the changes videos and like the special edition changes and stuff like that. I have like 8 Star Wars changes videos or something like that. In 14 years, I did not like the Book of Boba Fett or The Acolyte. I made a couple videos about him and never talked about him again. So like, yeah, I'm not the guy that runs stuff into the ground. It's just not me, man. And I guess that makes me a shill to some because I don't just like constantly talk about things that I don't like. Whatever. This place is weird. But that comment did get me thinking. Got me thinking of in a different way. This is how I kind of saw that comment. Or this is what the comment like made me think about. So if A New Hope was the only Star Wars movie, I'd still be a huge Star Wars fan. I'd still want the screen-accurate Stormtrooper armor that I have. The movie would hold just as big of a place in my heart if it were a standalone. I love the franchise deeply. I love to see how it ebbs and flows and changes and creates and moves beyond and invents and progresses. But that single movie, that single faster and more intense film, is the bread and butter of what I love about Star Wars. If there was just one Star Wars movie, the first Star Wars movie, originally called just Star Wars until the title A New Hope was added to the film during its theatrical re-release in 1981. If Star Wars was just a one and done, no sequels, no prequels, just a simple, fast and fun little sci-fi flick from 1977, I honestly think I'd be just as big of a Star Wars fan as I am today, even with all the stuff that has come out since. That movie, Star Wars, the first one, A New Hope, I'll just call it A New Hope for clarification's sake. A New Hope defines Star Wars for me. When I think of Star Wars, I don't think of Sith and Jedi. I don't think of super duper force powers. I don't think of the prequels. I don't think of the sequels. The first thing that pops into my head is A New Hope. Everything that pops into my head when I think of Star Wars pretty much comes from that film. Rebels, Empire, scoundrels, blasters, running down a hallway, a badass princess, a little bit of a fantasy element and mystery with the Force. Yeah, that's how I like my Force. I like my Force like this. I like my Force mysterious and hippy-dippy and not spelled out and not like a video game or power-focused. I like it to be some 70s hash head woo-woo mysticism, man. That is what the Force is to me. Of course, I love the entire original trilogy, but A New Hope by far occupies the biggest spot in my Star Wars heart. I mean, my favorite lightsaber fight in all of Star Wars is Vader and Luke and the Emperor at the end of Return of the Jedi. Of course, I love The Empire Strikes Back to my core, but everything I love about Star Wars, the bread and butter, again, the heart, the wonder, the imagination, the excitement, for me, can be found in that first flick. That really is where my Star Wars passion lies. And of course, nostalgia plays a huge role in that passion. It's the one I watched the most as a kid, And I love the beginning of stories in general, you know, when it comes to franchises or trilogies. And A New Hope is such a nice, tight, self-contained story that if, you know, that's all it was and Star Wars never exploded into a giant multi-billion, multi-generational franchise, my love for the thing would be just as big as it is now. That's how much that single individual movie means to me. If there was no other Star Wars, I would still be talking about A New Hope on YouTube. Like, I would have 14 years of A New Hope conversations, which is most of what this channel has been over the past 14 years. And I think that commenter, yeah, I'm still talking about that comment because I did find it very interesting. And I think that commenter recognized the accidental quality of this channel's initial success. You know, I made some videos about changes made to the original trilogy. I wore a Greedo mask and a Stormtrooper helmet. Didn't really know much outside of the original trilogy. I mean, I never shied away from that fact. I wasn't a big Star Wars EU reader. I played the video games like we all did. Never really cared about the prequels. My knowledge and passion was more directed towards a series of 3 movies that I loved deeply my whole life, and not a franchise or a brand or canon or lore. You know, the passion was for 3 movies. Hell, most of what I talk about on this channel is still those 3 movies. And that love for A New Hope is also why I started this channel in the first place. My favorite movie ever was being tinkered with and changed. You know, parts that I loved were being erased and replaced with digital effects. This movie that was so near and dear to me was being altered forever. It felt icky. Felt like all of our childhood memories were being modified. So in 2011, I made a little video about that, and then this channel was born. And it evolved. I've gone months at times without doing anything on it. It's always been a fun little creative outlet. I get to talk about fun stuff sometimes, you know, occasionally make fun stuff sometimes. So it feels weird to me when I get lumped in with like daily YouTube creators because we're just so different. We're just different breeds. We do this for different reasons, different motivations. I'm just some random dude who happened to gather a small following over the past almost 14 years. You know, I've always been very loosey-goosey with this thing. Yeah, you can go back to my early videos and find me channeling a lot of angry video game nerd, but that quickly mellowed out. I mean, look at the difference between my first changes video and my second or third. Super different. Yeah, I mellowed out fast. But yeah, like, I don't comment about movies and stuff all the time. Like, I have zero desire to do that. It's not me. It's never really been this channel's thing. I've never been topical. A lot of the times when a new show or trailer or something comes out, I don't even mention it. And just choose to make a video about some random crap from the 90s or just poke fun at silly shit in the fandom. It's just different, man. I think the commenter is correct when he says that it's hard to process for hardcore fans. When I think of hardcore fans, I think of people that are so like deep into the lore and you know, that kind of stuff. And I've never done like deep dives into lore or anything even remotely close to that. I make dumb videos about my 1995 Ford Explorer and unbox some Phantom Menace action figures that I had in 1999 and occasionally talk about silly stuff in the fandom. That's me. That's kind of how this channel has been since probably like 2017 or so. And I guess this can come off as relatively aloof. I don't know, man. I don't take very many things serious that don't require seriousness. I take my job serious, my family serious, my responsibility serious. And YouTube, first and foremost, has always been a fun little creative endeavor that I just happened to get a little lucky with because I started it before Disney bought the franchise and announced they were making new stuff. And then a lot of people became interested in Star Wars again. I just happened to be there. Right place, right time. I just found that comment very interesting. I don't know, it was very interesting to me. Like taking a top-down approach to this channel and my attitude and stuff like that and maybe how things are perceived incorrectly or yeah, I don't know how to put it, but I just found it interesting, that little comment. Anyway, I talked in circles again like I always do. I hope you all are doing well. I'm probably going to watch the first episode of Skeleton Crew tonight with a kid after dinner. She's not interested in Star Wars at all, but she said she would watch the show and check out the first episode. So, yeah, I just hope it's fun. Be safe out there. HelloGreedo, out.